Hello, everyone. This is Jimmy Cultist, and we're back again with another exploration game video. This series, I don't know if it's even about exploration games anymore. It's just about anything and everything I can think of, almost. We'll see. But today we're covering permanent variables as requested by a fan. Or well, maybe not a fan, but a subscriber, a watcher, a viewer. What we're dealing with today, though, is permanent variables, which is basically variables that when you leave, a level, they stay the same and are acted upon even when you traverse from scene to scene. Now, they're making a game of their own that requires this logic, so I'm going to go ahead and show them how that could be made. I don't know if this is such a thing, in exploration games. It probably is. We kind of have already covered it to some degree, but I want to show some more details, shall we say. But right here we have this key, which we're going to be using as the basis for our collectible. And really, all you need is 2 blocks. Well, we'll explain. We've got 1 block here. We're going to make it invisible and non-collidable and turn off imp interaction and physics cost. It doesn't have to be labeled anything. Then we're going to stamp a microchip onto this thing. Actually, wait a minute. First, you might want to group it with this key. The key should be alright even after being grouped, so don't worry about that. It'll continue to turn as it has always turned. Then we're just going to ungroup this copied block, L1 and R2 to copy things. And then we're going to put our microchips. Now, why did we group this before putting the microchip on? Well, I think I've mentioned this before, but you always want them to be outside of the group. If you're going to make a group, the microchip has to be outside it. Of course, there are some situations in which it's different, but this is not one of them. And we're going to go ahead and make this block gold, because that's going to hold our variable. I'm going to reduce the detail on these 2 things, because they aren't really going to be visible, so... So, let's get out our variable. Now, here is one thing I would like to mention about dreams. Because of the nature of dreams, you need a specific variable for each and every object you pick up if you want it to remain permanently, collected. If you don't mind them resetting, don't use a variable, but this is basically a way of making save data. We're going to set the minimum value to 0 and the maximum value to 1, because it's only going to require 1. And we're going to set it to persist in dream. Now, we're not going to be testing this by going through level doorways, because that's a lot of hassle, but I know it works, so just trust me on this. If you test it yourself, you'll see that it works. We're going to go ahead and call this Gold 1 for the sake of brevity. I know this thing isn't gold, but that's what we're going to call it. Then we're going to stamp out a timeline, which we're going to set to play once on the play mode, and a keyframe, which we're just going to leave right there. And we're going to take the current value and stick it into the power of the keyframe. Now we're going to go down here and check out our bottom chip here. I guess we'll call this collect. And the logic behind this is actually quite simple. Set this zone trigger zone to label. Make it a square. Alternatively, I think we already have some logic that we could use within the key. If you set on X-ray mode, you can see right here, we've already got this. You could potentially use this to, you know, do what we want to do. I'm going to go ahead and just copy this out. You can use a trigger zone too, though, so just keep that in mind. But we're going to use the tag since we've already got that. And we're going to replace this timeline with this one we already had set up for the key, because, you know, we might as well. And this is all perfectly set up to begin with, so there's really no downside. There is a little bit of an issue with the collectible sparks being misplaced because we moved the timeline from one microchip to the other. But we'll just readjust them so that they're back in place. Key obtained. Okay. And we are going to have to change the variable to gold 1. And I might move this back just a little bit, because it feels like as soon as we collect our key, we should have the thing pop up. Alright. Make sure it's set to play once. Good. And we're going to take out a little counter. You could alternatively use a selector, but we're going to be using a counter. And just connect the tag output to the increase count input. Take counter full, stick it in the timeline. Now let me explain what you're dealing with mainly when you're setting something up like this. What you're trying to do with variables is figure out a way to make the thing disappear and not be triggered while also playing a collection, you know, playing this. Because if you had a thing where the object was destroyed, it would instantly just disappear as soon as the variable was triggered, and that would seem kind of abrupt and weird. And also, you know, it could cause other problems. But mainly I'm just looking for a nice, secure way to trigger the variable, have this little, you know, item jingle play out, while still, you know, having this variable stay around. Now we're going to go over to the keyframe, and it's going to supply us with the means to stop us from picking this up over and over again. All you got to do is turn off the power, and this will no longer be triggered. So once this variable is active, gold 1, we'll be shutting off this brick so it can't be triggered anymore. But since the timeline is not on this brick, it will continue to play, and it will say key obtained and all this relevant information we want only once, because once this is triggered, we're not going to be triggering it ever again. So it's handy to do it that way. Oh, let's change this just to be neat and tidy. Variable. Alright. Now I suppose that's all we have to do, so let's give it a little check to make sure that it... Oh, another thing we want to make sure. Make sure your value is always set to +1 and set it to add. We already did that before because this is reused logic, but I just wanted to go ahead and show you that again. And I also want to show you real quick how we did this text gadget. Basically, we just have a keyframe set to linear blend, and we turn down the opacity on all the relevant things, the text box opacity and the text opacity are turned down to 0. We've set them end to end, make them wide so there's no overlap. Then we go to the middle, and you don't even have to put anything in there. It'll just resume the natural state, which is full opacity. Just a blank keyframe. So I just want to reiterate that, so that if you're watching this video and you haven't seen the previous ones, you'll know how we did that little circus. And now I think we're ready. Oh, another thing you might want to do is group these together, mainly in case you want to copy this, like, you know, make more variables. You're going to have to change these, though. Like, if you want to make more, you're going to have to name it gold 2, gold 3, gold 4, whatever it is you want. Now let's go ahead and try this out. We collected the key. Now this key, now that the variable is active, this will persist in a dream even if we leave the level. And I'm not really going to demonstrate that, but just believe me, it will. This keyframe will keep that key invisible, and this variable will be active whether we leave the level or not. So if we go through the door and then we come back, it'll be here. I've tested this before, so it definitely works. Anyway, I hope that helped you. To that person who requested this video, and I hope you make many wonderful games using this methodology. It's very simple, and there's a little bit more that can be added to it. Like if you wanted like a little cutscene to play out, like in Mario, where you pick up the star and grab it in your hand. Stuff like that can be done as well. We're just giving you the simplest, way of making it if you want to do that. We might cover how to collect it in a more flamboyant way later. But for now, this is just the most basic thing. Hopefully you found that helpful. We're going to give a little shout out to our monthly subscribers on Ko-fi, the people who keep us supported. There they go. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. If you wish to support our earnest insanity, you can check the links in the description to donate or buy merch. Until next time, goodbye.